Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Farrah, and in today's video, I'm just going to tell you guys a few things I've read in April. It wasn't much. Well, it was if you think of page count, but it's not a lot of books to talk about. So April was a pretty good reading month for me. I actually read 4 books that I owned, which is great, and no library books. So that was a success for the month. So I guess I'll get started with my 2 least favorites. These were just short novellas, but I am reading through the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon. I read the first 2 main novels, the big chunky ones, and then I've been catching up on her spin-off series with Lord John Grey. Now I've read these before. Well, actually, yes, these are both rereads for me. So the first one I want to talk about is a novella she wrote called Virgins, and this is technically the prequel to Outlander, and this is a really short novella focusing on Jamie Fraser, who's the main hero in our Outlander novels, as well as his brother-in-law Ian, who is not his brother-in-law yet, it's just a friend, and they're wandering around with a band of French mercenaries, and they're on a mission to deliver this Jewish woman and a very valuable artifact to her future husband. And along the way, they come across a few issues and have some trouble, and there's a twist. And so it just kind of fits in a little bit. It talks a bit about Jamie's experience before he met Claire. He goes through a really traumatic experience of getting caught by the British Army and being very violently flogged, and the disastrous results that came from that from some of his family members. And it explores a little bit of his guilt for that occurrence and him processing it. And it also kind of talks about, we see some of his morals and what he thinks is right and wrong, and it kind of helps build him as a character, and we get to know him a little bit better. So this was just okay. This wasn't one of my favorites. The story for me was really hard to follow. I first originally listened to this as audio. I got totally lost. Then this time around, I read it on my Kindle because I had it on my Kindle, and I understood it better, but I still had to go back a little bit because I'm like, wait, what? Where are they? What are they doing? What is the point of this? So I didn't think the storytelling was that great, but the dialogue is always wonderful in her books. I always love hearing more about Jamie, of course. So it was fun, but it wasn't necessarily anything I think that you should necessarily pick up or read. Especially do not read it if you haven't read Outlander, because it'll just, I don't know. I don't think many people would like it if they didn't already know the character of Jamie and Ian. So that was just okay. A little bit of a disappointment, but I'm on my Outlander journey, so it had to be done. Next, I did read one of the short stories in this book, and this is called Lord John and the Hand of the Devils, and I read the novella called Lord John and the Hellfire Club. And this is pretty short, as you can see. It's only that long, and this was just okay too. Again, this focuses on a British officer named Lord John Grey, who's a great character when we get further on in the Outlander series, but this explores his time between the second and third major Outlander books, I believe. And this was just okay. It's a little bit of a murder mystery, and it has to do with a scandal. It's LGBTQ+. Our main character, Lord John, is a gay character. But I don't think that we saw enough of his charm that we usually see in the novels later on. So this definitely wasn't a strong novella in my opinion, but again, I'm just reading through. I'm glad I reread it. And it was just okay. It was out there. I would say the action didn't really pick up until the last maybe quarter of the novella. So the whole beginning, again, there's a lot of names being thrown out, was a little bit hard to follow, and I'm just like, ugh. What is happening? Is my brain getting worse as I age, or are these just not that well written? But luckily, according to Goodreads, a lot of people had the same problem. So I will be continuing on with the other 2 novellas in this book at some point very soon, I hope. So yeah, not my favorite. Don't read it if you don't already know John Grey. Read the other novels first, would be my recommendation. And don't even read John Grey until you get to at least novel 4 in the Outlander series. Whew. Okay. Anyway, moving on. The next book I read and I loved so much was The Color Purple by Alice Walker. And I'm not going to talk too much about this because I made a really short, quick reading vlog of my experience reading this that'll go into more detail about how I felt, what I really loved about it. But I will say this was amazing. I gave it 5 stars. I listened to it as audio, and I also did some immersion reading. So I listened to it, and then I picked it up and read a little bit, and then I read while I was listening. And I will say that this was so good as audio. I thought the portrayal of our main character Celie was done so well, but the portrayal of her sister Nettie was also done really well, and it was read by the author herself, so it was read by Alice Walker. She did such a great job with the vocal performances and the reading of this. And the whole book is a series of epistolary, well, it's an epistolary novel, and it's written by our main character, Celie, who's writing letters to God in the beginning, and then she's writing letters to her sister later on. So it was a really interesting way to tell the story. I really liked that about it. And it's also written in a Southern vernacular. So that's why I found the audio to be so good, because she's reading it as it would have been spoken in Celie's mind and in her life. So it really added another layer to this story and brought the characters to life. And I read this without going into it blindly, so I didn't know the story. I've never seen the movies or any adaptations, and I really liked it. It was really sad and difficult to read in the beginning, but I felt like throughout the novel you see such wonderful character arcs, and by the end it's just really good, and it is very filled with hope and growth, and I really recommend this if you've never read it before. I loved it. And then lastly, I finally finished volume 1, or not volume 1, Compendium 1 in the Walking Dead graphic novel series. And these are pretty thick and they're long, and I really liked this, and I'm going to be going forward. I have the other 3 as well. So this was a book that I borrowed from my brother, and I'm really excited to have gotten through one of them so I can give it back to him. But so I went into this, again, totally blind. I've never seen the show. I don't know any of the characters' names. I mean, I know basically that it's a world where something's happened and zombies have taken over, but that's all I knew. And I just thought that this was told really, really well. It was really creative for being a graphic novel. It had a lot of emotional depth to it. And I don't mean to say that graphic novels don't. It's just that my experience with graphic novels has mostly just been middle grade. So I haven't had a lot of other experience with manga or more graphic novels that are more geared towards adults. This is definitely geared towards adults. I would say, like, if you had to rate a book, this was like almost a heavy R rating. This was really violent and really brutal, and there were some really disturbing scenes in here that I was not expecting. I actually had to put this down for a little while because we do come to a scene where one group of people meets another group of people, and it becomes really, really bad. And it's crazy because you kind of get into this idea that it's not really the zombies that are the worst part of it. It's the people and what they do to each other and the way they change in this world of despair and dystopian zombie craziness. So that was really good. I got really invested in the characters, and my only critique that I personally had, but I was able to fix it, was that there's several illustrators throughout this. So I noticed in the beginning some characters were drawn a certain way, and then as we get further in through the story, they're drawn a tiny bit differently. And we're introduced to a lot of characters at first, so I kind of lost who was who in the beginning. I had to actually go back and make a list and be like, okay, this is there's several blonde women, and I had to figure out who they were. And then people die all the time, so I had to figure out, okay, this person's gone now, but how's this person related to this person, and who's in a relationship with this person? So that got to be a little bit tricky, but once I organized myself, it was easy and it was clear. The illustrations were clear, and I was like, oh yeah, okay. That one has freckles, that one has curly hair. So it was a little bit interesting in that aspect for me. It's all done in black and white, as you can see. And it was just engaging from start to finish. I mean, there was not a boring part in this. It moved really quickly, and the only reason it took me so long is because I kept putting it down. If I had just committed to it and read it, I would have read it much faster. So we leave on a major emotional cliffhanger with this, a shocking ending to what happened, and don't get attached to anyone, I'll say that for sure. So I'm really excited to go forward and read the second one very soon. I'm going to participate in Zombie-thon for May, run by Kat's Novel Adventures. She's the main co-host that I know of. Of course, I'll put information below, so I will be picking up volume 2 for that event. And so books that I'm currently reading still, not much. I'm trying to focus on 1 to 2 books at a time, but I'm reading Flowers for Algernon. I forget the author's name, but yeah, I started this in April. I'm still reading it and it's excellent. It's really, really good. I'm almost halfway through that, and I will be doing a vlog on that because I have a lot of thoughts on that. And then I'm also listening to a memoir by Bob Dylan called Chronicles, and that's been going pretty well. I'm about almost halfway done with that as well. I was reading about him quite a bit when I was helping my daughter do her homework, and we were focusing on the 60s. And so that's what inspired me to pick up his memoir. It's read by Sean Penn, and it's pretty good. I am getting a little lost with all the name dropping. I don't know who's who, and but it's pretty good. It's pretty good so far, and I'm learning some really interesting things about him. And then I also started as another digital book. I've been dipping in and out of this, but it's Cold Comfort Farm. I think it's by Stella Gibbons. I think that's her name. So that one's going okay. It's pretty funny. I am finding some humor in it. I'm not that far into it though. I mean, I'm not even 20% yet, but it's okay. I've heard people say that this is a hit or a miss. It's kind of weird, so we'll see. I was interested in reading this because it's a satire about rural farm life, and I live on a farm, and I grew up here, and I live in a rural community, so I thought maybe I would be able to find some humor in that. So we'll see. I am finding some humor so far. So that is my update for now. Please let me know if you guys have read anything really great this past month. My stomach is gurgling like crazy. Sorry if you hear it. But yeah, I would love to know. And thank you again for watching, and I will see you in my next video, hopefully soon. Take care and have a great rest of your day.